Hi, I'm Callum from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is a handover of an Auto Trail Expedition 67. So now in the cab, which is on the new Series 8 Fiat Ducato, you have your handbrake to your right. You've got electric driver and passenger windows. To adjust your mirrors, you just have to manually move the glass and then pull them in. You just put your hand around the back and pull them in. Car blinds on the doors, so slide this out, slide it up, and then you want to put this clip into here, and you do that the same on the passenger. And then on the windscreen you'd simply slide this one up, and that is your windscreen blacked out on an evening or during the day when you don't want the sun to come beaming through. Headlight adjustment, rear fog lights. You've got an eco button there, so you can turn eco on and off. It'll save you a little bit of fuel once you get up to your speed. You may want to put eco on and then turn it off when you're trying to overtake, and then turn it back on once you're sitting cruising on the motorway. Start stop disconnected, so it just means you can put your start stop on or off, and that will only work should the battery have enough charge in it, and obviously the aircon and everything not be drawn off it. You've got your wipers, so just turn it here, so no lift up and down, because you just, all that happens is when you lift it up it only does one sweep. You've got to then adjust the frequency on this side. Lights and indicators, cruise control, press up to set, then you can go up and down the speed, cancel here or cancel with the foot brake, and then you can resume it here. Or you can use the limiter, so you can just set a speed limiter, goes up in 1 mile an hour increments, set the limiter, and then what will happen is if you feather the throttle, it'll knock over that set speed until you push the accelerator right at the floor, which will override the speed limiter as a safety feature. You've got arrows here which goes through this screen here, so you've got a digital speedometer on screen 1, and then you can go left and right. So if you go left, you can see your average miles per gallon and your average speed, your distance and your travelling time, your average miles per gallon and your average speed, your distance, and then your range. And for your miles per gallon, which is your consumption, instant consumption when running, your oil level, your oil temperature, your oil life, your battery voltage, so your charge and your battery, and your AdBlue level, all on screen number 3, and your service, and then alert. So you've got to put your foot down on the clutch to start the vehicle, and then there's no other alerts there. 6-speed manual gearbox. You've got a lift underneath and slide it up, and it'll go into reverse. ESC anti-skid control, you can turn that off if you are stuck on wet grass or loose chip-ins and you're spinning. Turn it off and you'll be able to give it a bit more oomph with the accelerator without it kicking in. Hazards, locks the doors with it being a van conversion when all doors are shut. Temperature on the outside ring with the fan speed on the in, must be on at least fan speed 1 or more for the aircon to work, which is this one here. Distribution, so face, feet or screen, and whether you're bringing fresh air in or you're recirculating air here. Pioneer radio, so they don't normally come with radios. We fitted this for this particular customer, so this is a Pioneer radio, which is DAB, so you just press SRC to turn it on or off. By pressing and holding it, you can go through FM, Bluetooth audio, which is, the model number is S720 DAB, Spotify, aux in, 3.5mm jack USB, or you can put a CD in there, and it can connect to the Pioneer app through here. You can of course press and hold, turn it off, and pop the fascia out. If you are leaving the vehicle unattended, you can pack that away somewhere. 12 volt and obviously USBs. two different types of USBs, normal USB and USB-C, with there being they're introducing USB-C to most of the automotive industry now. Cup holders, glove box, and then you've got a top box which is heated and cooled via the air conditioning. Underneath the lounge seat on the driver's side of the vehicle at the back, you've got some storage here, but you do have the location of the EC176 power supply unit, which is your Sergeant unit which powers the vehicle. So you've got a 12 volt DC shut-off switch here. So this is an isolation switch so that your leisure battery doesn't drain if you're leaving it parked up in the winter, or you're not using it for a couple of weeks. You can turn that up, but it's entirely up to yourself. And then you've got your heater and charger, so they need to be pushed in. Just leave them pushed in and they'll illuminate when on mains power. Obviously that does your heater for your air blown. That does your charger, which charges your leisure battery. 12 volt fuses, so they all are standard fuses. You may want to carry some spares with you. It's probably a good idea, so that if any fuse does blow, you can replenish the fuse. And they are just 5, 10s, 15s and 20 amp fuses, so you can get them from most motor factors. And then you do have your RCD and your MCBs on mains power. So if you trip the vehicle out, try here. If you're not receiving mains power and you want to know if it's your end or their end, come and just trip your vehicle, and then you know if it's a problem with your van or if it's a problem with the site feed. And then you do have a relay and a 10 amp fuse there. So when making the lounge into a double bed, behind both base cushions on either side you've got these two bars. The bars need to go in, and then you need to slide this out. So two there, or should I say three at the back, one at the front. Pop them in, slide these out, put the base cushion where it is, the backrest into the infill, and this will distribute the weight. But you've also got this handy little board that lives behind here, which I can only assume is for either an extra seat or a little handy table, which is where you can put your cups of tea, glasses of wine, your beer on there when you're sitting in the back, on the back two bars. But make sure the bars are in for the bed, as it helps distribute the weight across the two sofa beds. To operate your Dometic styled fridge freezer, so you've got a fridge with a small freezer box. Using the controls on the front, so this is your source selector. So at the top the fridge is off, so if it was sitting at home and you weren't using it, or sitting in the storage yard, you've got no reason for the fridge to be on, you'd have it off. You can then turn it to the plug, which is mains 230 volts, will act as a household fridge. So if you're on site you would use electric because you've paid your site fees, or if you are at home and you are pre-chilling the fridge before you leave. So normally a few days before you want to hook the vehicle up anyway to charge the leisure battery, pop your fridge on, allow that to chill for a day or two, and then the day before you go away you want to put your shopping in the fridge and allow that to cool overnight. So that would all be done on mains electric. And then you can turn down the battery, and what the battery is, it's not from the leisure battery, it's from the vehicle battery, and it basically keeps the temperature the same whilst you're traveling. So the engine needs to be on, it needs to be pre-chilled beforehand. Your nice fresh shopping, if you're moving from one site to another or from home to a site, it'll stay nice and fresh until you arrive back on site, and you either go back to electric or you go down to gas. So you'd use gas if you're wild camping, which is the bottom one. This is your temperature selector, so you can adjust the temperature. When pre-chilling we'll always say put it on full. Once you get your shopping in, just turn it down because it is enough to freeze the fridge. But you will have to use the temperature selector whilst on gas. So put the gas, push this in, push the piezo ignition in, and then that orange band will start to make its way into the green, and that's when you know it's lit. But you don't use gas if you were wild camping. If you're on a site, use their electric, and whilst you're driving with stuff in your fridge, put it onto battery and it'll act as a giant cool box. And then finally, whenever you leave the fridge, so whenever you're not using the vehicle, what you want to do is you want to take everything out and then clean the fridge out with some antibacterial sprays or wipes, and then you want to leave the door open. So to leave the door open, there's a little nib on the side of the light, brings these two pins out, and you'll notice the door's not fully shut there. It'll allow air circulation in and out the fridge, because if you didn't, you just cleaned the fridge out, give that a week or so, and the van will be smelling because it's trapped the air, and mould and bacteria will start to form in the fridge. That's not what you want. Above the fridge you do have your wardrobe. So you've got your table leg, which goes in the floor here, and your tabletop, fire extinguisher, and obviously a hanging rail as it is a wardrobe. In the kitchen area, you've got two gas burners. Once they've been on, allow them to cool before you put the glass covers down, and you'll notice that you've got one smaller burner, so you need 160mm pan on here maximum, and a 220ml pan on this burner. Tells you here, just so that you're not causing any damage to anything. Cutlery drawer, some storage down there, a lift up side extension, it just lifts up, and then if you just remove, so just lift them off from here, it'll be able to hold this back down. Like so, and clip back. Mains, 230-volt socket. Storage above, another main socket, oven and grill, storage with your boiler mains fuse spur on electric. So if the boiler's not working, make sure that you haven't catched this when you've been loading things in and out of the cupboard. That's just on electric. And then underneath here is where all your gas taps are at the back. So any problems with gas, turn the bottle off to be safe. You've got your pump, so a shear flow pump, which obviously pumps the water around the vehicle. And then you do have your underslung wheel boiler. So this is what's known as your winter drain down tap. So it's very important that you drain the vehicle down in the winter when not using it, as you wouldn't want that water, which holds 10 litres, to freeze in there, because it is very expensive. It's not covered under warranty, and it could be a costly mistake. So what you need to do is, once the little nib here is pointing to the front cab, it's closed, turn it to this side, it'll drain the water off. Leave that open during the time the vehicle is stood up, but do it without the pump on. So I had the pump on there, don't have the pump on because it's kicking in. Do it without the pump on in any power, and then leave all your mixer taps open throughout the vehicle. Drain the shower head off by removing the head and allowing the hose to lie in the shower tray so no water freezes in there. Open the fresh water, open the waste outside, and eliminate all water in the vehicle, as you wouldn't want the water to freeze, because it is a costly mistake to make, like I've said. And then when you're ready to reuse it, close this, so put it back into this position that it's in now, which is your boiler. Close your fresh new waste outside, shut all your taps, assemble your shower head, and then go and fill the vehicle with water via a hose pipe. Once you've filled the vehicle up, or put some water in the vehicle, you can then start the pressurising the boiler. So what you need to do is, you need to come in, put the pump on, go to the cold side of the tap first. You'll get a pressurised flow of cold water straight away, because it's bringing it direct from the tank underneath the floor via the pump to the tap. Go to the hot side, and that's when it starts coughing and spluttering, because it's transferring water from one tank via the pump, filling here of 10 litres before it then reaches the tap. So it can take a little while, anywhere between 3 and 5 minutes for the water to come through, but it's not broken, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just pushing the air out until the water starts bleeding through the tap. Once you've done one tap, do them all, and then that is your system primed once you get a free flow of water from the hot side of the tap. Now in the combined washroom, to operate the toilet you need to make sure that the pump's on, so you'll get a pressurised flow of water. And then just behind the toilet lid you've got a blue button. This is your electric freshwater flush, which comes from the main freshwater tank. So press and hold and you'll get the flush of water. Always flush the toilet first before you open the blade, because it helps keep the seal between the cassette and the toilet lubricated. And then what you need to do is open the blade, which is this lever here. So push it away from you to the right hand side. It'll open the trap door, which is known as the blade, and everything will then end up in the cassette, because you don't want the blade to get messy and you wouldn't want any liquid to leak around the cassette. So if you do it this way, everything will go in the cassette. Then what you can do is flush after use again. If you've bought the twin packs of the blue aqua chem, which goes into the cassette, and the pink, obviously the pink hasn't got a separate tank on this vehicle, but what you can do is you can dilute it with some water in a spray bottle, spray the bowl and then flush it, and it'll do the same job. It'll keep the bowl clean, it'll give a fragrant smell in the washroom, and it'll all just go into the cassette. And then what you need to do after you've used the toilet is just bring that blade back towards you to the left, closing the cassette, because then you can get it out from the outside if you need to empty it. Otherwise, if you did go to try and pull it out and the blade was open, it's still engaged with the mechanism and you'll not be able to get the cassette out the side of the vehicle. So make sure that you just do it in that routine, and then when this goes to red, you'll slowly start turning to red. Once it goes to solid red, the cassette is full. Obviously make sure the blade's closed, then you can go and pull it out from the outside of the vehicle and take it to be emptied. You've got your shower curtain here, your shower head. Remove your shower head from the hose when you winterize in the vehicle in the winter, just so no water's sitting coiled up in this pipe, and leave all your mixer taps open. Toiletry cabinet behind the glass mirrors, and then push here, you've got a fold down sink. And that's your water getting up the temperature there. Once you've had any water in, if you just slowly tip it down, don't overflow it, because it's got to go into this reservoir here to then drain away before folding the sink up. To operate your main 12 volt control panel, in the top left hand corner you've got a on off button, which is your master switch, which will turn on mains power if you hooked up, which will be 230 volt, and it'll indicate here that it says leisure battery charging, which means that you are receiving mains power. If not, you'll just have 12 volt off your leisure battery. You've got your light switch here, so this is just the main master switch for your lights. Then they all are individually switched. These are your entrance lights and your over carb lights. Pump, so turn the pump on if you've got enough water on board, and you'll be able to pressurise the water flow through the taps, toilet and shower. Otherwise you'll just get whatever's left in the lines and it will drain away. Awning light, if your vehicle's fitted with an awning light, that would be used, but on this one it is redundant. If you scroll through here, you can see the make and model number of the control panel, that your leisure battery's got 13.5 volts in and it's charging. Take the hook about to get a true reading of where the leisure battery is sitting. Your vehicle battery is there. Your fresh water 50%, waste 0. So that's where you look for your water levels before you turn your pump on, so that you don't burn the motor out on the pump by using it without any water in it. And then you can adjust it. You always want to make sure that the selective battery is the leisure, because that's what's designed to run the motorhome side. You don't want that to be the vehicle, because it could flatten your vehicle battery and then you could go to start it and not be able to start the vehicle. So always make sure you're using the leisure battery, because that's what it's designed for. You can adjust the time on here by using this arrow here. So that's the hour, that's the minute, and then you are back to the start of the panel. This side you've got your wheel heat air controls, which are the new controls. So you just waft your hand over them, the motion sensitive and the pick up movement. So heating, hot water. So starting off with the heating first, which is the far left hand dial. So you've got one little snowflake, which is frost protection mode, which is approximately 5 degrees. You've then got the moon, which is nighttime mode and is approximately 16 degrees. You've got in the middle here, this is the temperature selection, plus and the minus, so that's how you go through those. Middle you've got somewhere around 20 degrees, and then if you keep going it goes all the way up to 30 degrees being max. And then you've got two sources which it'll run off. Gas goes blue first, that'll go to orange once the gas has been pulled through the system and it is lit on gas. And then you do have your electric side, so if you press and hold it'll go up 3 little dots. So you've got the first dot, which is 750 watts, second dot, which is 1500 watts, and third one, which is 3 kilowatts. And like I say, when it goes to orange it means it's lit, so that's now lit on electric. So if you're on a site, don't waste your gas, you've paid your site fees, use their electric. And then this side you've got your water. So again, frost start, which is approximately 5 degrees, just to keep the water from freezing. Goes all the way up to here, which is 40 degrees of heating your water, and then you've got your next one, which is 60 degrees of heating your water. And again you've got gas, 1 kilowatt, 2 kilowatts and 3, so or should I say 750 watts, 1500 watts and 3 kilowatts on there. So it all depends on the amperage you get through your sites, will determine whether you use 750, 1500 watts or 3 kilowatts. And then finally, if you get an exclamation mark here, red one, it means that the system's failed. But you do have lockout reset buttons here, so you just press and hold them and it'll reset the panel, and that exclamation mark should disappear.